And I think what I'm saying comes true from my life, which has been pretty fortunate, even privileged. And I've seen it in my life, and I've seen it in the lives of others who've had a much harder life. And I've seen it in the stories and the reports of people who've had horribly hard lives, and yet who began to work on themselves internally, and bit by bit began to grow these kind of muscles, inside their innermost being.
Thank
Okay.
you, Rick. Thank you. I love the quote from Milarepa that you
Oh,
often
yeah.
talked about, that in the beginning, nothing sticks. In the middle, nothing stays. And at the end, nothing goes, nothing is lost. And
Yeah.
it's a reminder, you were talking about more extreme cases, and I'm giving you some time so that you can breathe and
Oh,
take
it's
water.
good. I love this. It's great. Let's take another question. It's great.
There was a hand, but let me see, just so that it's a reminder for us too that we need to persist, right?
Yeah,
For those
that's right.
results, whether there is an extreme case or not. And there was a hand from Julia. She was
Great.
waiting to ask you if that's okay with you.
Yeah, please. And then maybe we'll finish here. But yeah, thank you, Julia.
Thank you. I didn't want to hold you up, but
Oh, no.
this has been amazingly wonderful. Um, um, I'm going back to your trilogy of be, let go, and allow in. And the allow in kind of sent up a red flag for me, simply because some folks have, some of us, I'll speak personally, have a thinner membrane, so to speak.
Yeah.
And for myself, allowing in has necessarily needed a kind of filter on it. What kind of filtration is wise to, in wanting to be open-hearted, um, and recognizing that you want to take in, but not taking in all the crap along with it.
Very good.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. So thank you for that. Yeah. So to be clear, what I'm focusing on, I'm working backwards. I'm saying, life is full of opportunity. It's also full of challenges. And without a doubt, there is suffering. It's not the whole of life. That's not what the Buddha taught, but he certainly pointed out part of the human condition certainly is suffering. What are we going to do about it? So I work backwards from that to say that a major thing we can do about it is to release over time. I'll just say it differently. A major thing we can do about it is to be with our experience as it is without fighting it. That alone is a helpful way to deal with the hard things in life. We're being with our experience enough that it's authentic, but not so overwhelming that we're flooded and we start to drown in it. And that's where mindfulness training, which gives us some disidentification, some detachment from the movie that's playing on the screen. We're letting the full movie play, but we're witnessing it from 20 rows back. So that enables us to be able to be with our experiences. Second, to deal with the challenges of life, it's definitely useful to release old neurotic habits, to release stuff we learned when we were kids that were necessary to survive our childhood, maybe, but today are like, it's like walking around in a suit of armor that's 3 sizes too small. We let go. Like, I'm married. I've been married now 39 years, and my wife will do something or say something, and a reaction will arise. Be like, why'd she criticize me for how I did the dishes or something? And I don't need that reaction. It's old. It doesn't matter. I know she's not trying to criticize me. It doesn't matter. Even if she is, who cares? Blah, blah. So there's a place for releasing things. We let stuff go. We let go of desires. My grandfather was an alcoholic. I can recognize the part of my brain that wants that molecule, and to let go of that. to let go of vengeful fantasies. Politically, I think the longing for justice can become a craving for vengeance. And that tipping point is useful to pay attention to, for example, right? So now then we come to the letting in part. And when I'm speaking of letting in, I'm talking about first already having some kind of experience that's beneficial. So already you're feeling or thinking or sensing something useful. Your body is calming. That's useful. Your body, you feel strong. That's useful. You feel determined. That's useful. You have a sense of healthy entitlement that you have the right to good treatment from other people, and that them taking advantage of you like is unfair. That's useful, right? Uh, Finally getting to the bathroom after a long drive. Relief, that's useful, right? Whatever it might be, subtle spiritual insights, that's useful. Realizing, as I did in my 20s, that growing up I had been a nerd, but not a wimp. That's useful. Whatever it might be. So that's where I'm starting, Julie. I'm thinking about, we're starting with an experience that you already regard as beneficial. It's useful or enjoyable or both. It's wholesome. It's a good one. And then the question becomes, are we learning from that experience or not? Is it neat in the moment as it washes through us like water through a sieve? Or are we gaining from that experience in terms of lasting learning, especially emotional, social, somatic, motivational learning? That's the key question for me. As we face the challenges of life, are we not just feeling something good in the moment, but are we growing from it as a result? Are we learning from it as a result? Are we building structure, good structure inside ourselves? Are we building, as Daniel said, buffers inside ourselves? Are we building strengths? Are we taking in psychological food that the little boy or girl or beyond gender has longed for inside and lacked, didn't get? And now we can feed that younger part of ourselves, right? To me, that's the key. And so I wanted to frame it that way. It's not just dropping all filters and allowing the world to bombard you like with a fire hose. It's about selectively. For me, this boils down to a handful of times every day, slowing it down for a breath or two to let it sink in the flow. And maybe also uh, knowing one or two things in particular you're focused on developing inside yourself these days. It might be a kind of meditative thing you're sort of working on. It could be something very specific, like disengaging from stupid quarrels with other people faster, or it might be something like getting your ex out of your head. or your stepdad out of your head, whatever it might be. And so then you look for a chance to experience that particular thing you're trying to grow inside yourself, that particular muscle you're trying to build these days. And then when you have a chance to experience it, slow it down for a breath or longer to take it in. So, but what I'm talking about is pretty this simple. Now, coming to specifically, it's really helpful with regard to this second thing of what are you trying to grow these days? If someone, let's say you, is by nature really has porous filters, is pretty wide open to external as well as internal stimuli, stuff bubbling up as well as bombarding in, what resource, what psychological capabilities or of various kinds would be really helpful for this challenge? Let's say. You see what I'm doing? I'm connecting a resource, I'm matching it. This is the idea of the vitamin C that is matched to the particular issue. And if a particular issue is something like someone who is in many beautiful ways very sensitive and open and takes on the feelings of others. Maybe, compassion is like, oh, you really take it on board. Or if they're angry or something, it really lands inside you. Um, there's an old saying, fences make for good neighbors. And I talk about this in the book Resilient. Autonomy supports intimacy. When we feel flooded by other people, that in effect is a loss of autonomy, which makes it harder to maintain intimacy. Think about that. So, what might be a resource? And then I'll move to a finish here. Several things. And by the way, this speaks to the great theme in the world's wisdom traditions, including Buddhism, of the balance of compassion and equanimity. How do we open our heart fully to the sorrows of the world without being so overwhelmed that we're no longer able to help the world, right? Or we just pay a huge price unnecessarily ourselves? How do we bring together compassion and equanimity, a kind of even keeledness amidst the waves of life? So several suggestions grounded in brain science. One is to increase what's called interoception, the internal sense of the body. One way to do that is be mindful of breathing, feeling your chest as a whole. Because that process of feeling your chest as a whole will naturally bring you into interoception, naturally draw you into the internal sensations of the body. And as you turn up the volume on those internal sensations in the body, it will turn down the volume of the other people coming at you. And it will keep also affirming, this is the second suggestion, when you do engage in interoception, notice you're basically all right now, in the present. Focusing on in the present, the heart is beating, there's enough air to breathe, still okay in the present. Anxiety is about the future. In the present, I'm okay. And that, so we have a combination of things, interoception and reassurance from the inside out that's undeniable. I'm still here. It's not perfect. There's some pain in my back. I'm hungry. I'm still waiting for that bathroom or something. I wish I had a cookie. I don't know. It's not perfect, but we're basically okay. The little soft furry animal of the body, Mary Oliver's line, the soft animal of the body, is still basically okay. And so that's the second thing. And a third method, one I routinely use, is to imagine boundaries or barriers between you and other people. They're different these are methods other people do too, like little tricks, like imagining you're looking at that really loud person through the wrong end of a telescope and they're very far away. Or you're imagining a wall of glass, even a foot thick glass, like in a submarine, between you and the other person. Or you keep reminding yourself, they're over there, I'm over here. You could imagine being like a deeply rooted tree and they're just blowing wind through your leaves. And yeah, you're losing a few leaves, maybe, it's a little shaky, but they're just the wind. And after the wind stops blowing, kawoosh, still here. You could even add a little attitude. I'm not going to swear in this teaching here, but still here, still here. Something, I'm still here. Okay, good. These are all good things that I think can really help as building up traits inside oneself over time. The trait of ongoing in touchness with the body, the trait of ongoing reassurance, basically still all right now in the present, when it's true. Sometimes it may not be true. It's always about genuine. It's got to be authentic always. But usually for most people, it's genuinely true most of the time that we're basically all right in the present. And also building up the strength of differentiation, the knowledge and the feeling of differentiation. They're over there, I'm over here. And as I say to myself sometimes, I can be with you without agreeing with you. I'm not implicated in your mind stream. And actually, ironically, often the more compassion we can mobilize for other people, the more we feel differentiated and centered in ourselves. And, you know, okay. Anyway, I hope that was helpful, Julia. It gave me a chance to kind of rattle on a bit here. Thank you. All right. I should pull it. Yeah, I should let you go, guys.
Yeah, thank you so much. You have answered many of the things that the students had also asked, about like they are right now doing an experiment trying to, within the course of Borges Buddhism and Cognitive Science, with working with something that they are trying to change. And many of the things you're talking about, I think, are very good tips and hints and reassurance for all the work they are doing right now on observing and planting new seeds and taking the weeds from the gardens. Thank you so much. I mean, we can't thank enough, but I'm going to do something. I'm going to put them again in a gallery, and everyone can unmute yourself.
Oh,
And
thank you all. I'm reading your chats. They're extremely sweet.
Thank
Really
you.
wonderful.
yeah.
Great. Yeah, go get them. Can I
Yeah,
finish by telling you a little story
of
really
course,
fast?
of
All right.
course.
That'd be great. So thank you. By the way, this is great. I would, as I told Amelia, I wanted to keep this at half an hour, but of course I immediately fell in love. So let's get going. Yeah. Well, okay. So quick story here is that I was in a little workshop with a teacher named Joseph Goldstein.
Oh, yeah.
And Amelia recognizes his name. You may too. Joseph is a longtime mindfulness teacher, an American who went to Thailand and did deep meditation when he was a young man in the 1960s or 70s, came back to America. He's from the East Coast. And Joseph is he's kind, but he's very dignified and kind of stiff. and, and old school, he doesn't, give out compliments easily or anything like that. And so anyway, I was in a little workshop with him about relaxing the sense of self, not taking life so personally. And I had an experience, and I went up to him and I asked him, is this what you're talking about? And that's, by the way, an important thing, to feel confirmed in our practice, where we are on the trail, on the path. Are we, and to appreciate that we actually we have made some progress. It's okay to want to get that affirmed, even if there's a little ego involved, and there was for me, certainly. It's still okay to be confirmed by a coach. Yeah, you did that right. Now what's the next thing? So I went up to Joseph, who was kind of scary, and I said, hey, this is what I'm experiencing. Is that what you're talking about? He said, yes, that's good, which was good. And then he smiled and said two words I've never forgotten that seem absolutely central to the process. He smiled and then he said, keep going. Keep going. You may have read me tell this story, but it's a good story. So that's the essence of the process, right? Wherever we are, wherever we start, every day is a new beginning. Keep going. Don't give up. Kind of with Daniel, kind of a point here for me is it's about sustained effort over time.
Right.
A lot of people will sustain effort over time over things they know and would even say are not actually that valuable, right? Like something at work or something or other, but they don't sustain effort over time related to what matters most, their innermost being, and becoming more skillful and competent and capable and wise and loving and moral and happy and awakened in this life. Your one wild and precious life, also as Mary Oliver puts it. I'm going to need some good quotes from Borges. I can see that going forward. You can help me with that, Amelia.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, it's sustained effort every day. And what kind of efforts will we make? We make the ones that have heart. We'll make the efforts that are juicy and rewarding and work, and that we connect to personally. Those are, so that's where we can emphasize and focus our practice. But when we do identify those sorts of things, it's old school. It's up to us to make those efforts. And a lot of people won't. But if you do over time, sky's the limit.
Right.
Cowabunga.
Up when you think that you have a plateau, or when you
Yep.
sometimes feel you lost it, but it's part of it, right? It's just
Yeah.
you know that it can happen, and so keep going, like you say. It's
Yeah, that's right.
beautiful.
That's right. Well, you all, super pleasure. Take good care.
Thank you.
Happy heart to you
Thank
all.
you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
And you have a great professor.
Ah.
Yes, we do.
Okay, y'all take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias, Rick. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.